Today's message is a little different, and this message, if you put it to use, it will take you from potential to limitless prosperity. I want you to pay very close attention. There is a lot you're going to learn today, in addition to what you have already learned, and it's going to be a new dimension to what you already learned. Let's see what God has to say. So we're taking our reading today from the book of 1 Kings chapter 5. We're going to read from verse 1 to 10. And I'm reading from the New International Version. Please pay close attention. This is extremely important. I want you to see something in this. Bible said when Hiram, king of Tyre, heard that Solomon had been anointed king to succeed his father David, he sent his envoys to Solomon because he has always been on friendly terms with David. Solomon sent back this message to Hiram. You know that because of the wars waged against my father David from all sides, he could not build a temple for the name of the Lord his God until the Lord put his enemies under his feet. But now the Lord my God has given me rest on every side, and there is no adversary or disaster. I intend therefore to build a temple for the name of the Lord my God, as the Lord told my father David when he said, your son, whom I will put on the throne in your place, will build a temple for my name. So give orders that cedars of Lebanon be cut for me. My men will work with yours, and I will pay you for your men whatever wages you set. You know that we have no one so skilled in felling timber as the Sidonians. When Hiram heard Solomon's message, he was greatly pleased and said, praise be to the Lord today, for he has given David a wise son to rule over this great nation. So Hiram sent word to Solomon, I have received the message you sent me, and will do all you want in providing the cedar and juniper logs. My men will haul them down from Lebanon to the Mediterranean Sea, and I will float them as rafts by sea to the place you specify. There I will separate them, and you can take them away. The Lord gave Solomon wisdom, just as he had promised. There were peaceful relations between Hiram and Solomon, and the two of them made a treaty. And that brings us to the end of the word of the Lord. Think about this message again. Think about the scripture we just read. There is something extremely important I want you to see. And we're going to take it one after another. God is wonderful. God is gracious. God is awesome. And his ways and patterns never change. This passage we just read tells the story of King Solomon reaching out to King Hiram of Tyre to help build the great temple of the Lord our God, the temple of Solomon. Solomon needed cedar wood from Lebanon, and Hiram was pleased to supply them. But there is one important thing that this passage teaches us. It teaches us deep lessons about the power and importance of connections, partnerships, and relationships in achieving God-given purposes. The power and importance of connections, relationships, and partnerships in achieving God-given purposes. You know that King Hiram of Tyre was not necessarily a man of God. He was an idol worshiper. Solomon did not say, I am trying to build a temple for my God, and this guy is an idol worshiper. What business would I ever have to do with him? Why would I even go and ask him for anything, knowing that he neither believes in my God, nor does he worship him? That was not what Solomon did. As far as Solomon was concerned, it was a diplomatic exchange. Had nothing to do with who or what Hiram worshipped. He had a mission, and he clearly stated that mission. I want to build a temple for the name of my Lord. And Hiram, even though the message was clear, and he knew that what Solomon was about to do had nothing to do with his own gods or whatever he worshipped, yet he honored it. There is this thing I want you to see. The first thing, please. Connections opens doors to resources. King Solomon knew that even though he was wise and very wealthy, he needed others. He could not single-handedly fulfill God's plan. He could not single-handedly achieve God-given purpose of building a temple for his name. He needed Hiram. And Hiram had access to the finest timber and skilled workers. Solomon had the vision and the commission from God to build this wonderful temple for the name of the Lord. But Solomon lacked the raw materials, the resources with which to do it. He didn't have the resources to build this thing, but he had the vision and he had the commission from God. And this is where this connection played a role. If it were not for the connection that Solomon had with Hiram, Solomon's dream of building the temple would have been stalled. Now let me ask you a question. Let me bring it in perspective to you. How many ideas, how many wonderful visions, how many wonderful, I would say, dreams have you had? Or do you have, but you don't have the resources to bring them to reality? Have you ever considered leveraging connections and partnerships, relationships, to take your dream and to bring your dream to reality? Some of you will say, if God surely commissioned it, God will surely provide for it. Yes, that's true. But there is a channel for the provision. There is always a platform for the provision. That channel and platform might be your responsibility. The provision is there, but your connection to that provision so that you can access those resources might be your part to play, your role to play. How many of us have had dreams and ideas die in our hands because we could not take it from our minds to becoming a reality that we can see and touch and feel and actually enjoy, because we lacked resources to make it happen? Solomon had the vision. Solomon was the one commissioned by the Lord to build this temple. God did not speak to Hiram, no. I am sure Hiram had no idea of the vision and commission that God gave to Solomon. But Solomon saw that this guy completes him. He had the raw materials. He had the resources. He had the finest timber. He had the skilled workers. And he said, I'm going to leverage this connection that I have so that this project can move forward. Otherwise, this project will be stalled for maybe years and years to come. Some of us have had our dreams delayed. our idea is dead because there is no connection to anyone who can help us take it to the next level. And some of us do have the connection, but because we are so myopic in our understanding, we are so inclined to just do it by ourselves that we have those dreams and ideas die in our hands. It calls for wisdom when you learn and understand that there is nothing you can do without involving someone else to help you get to the next level. What did Hiram say when he first received the message of Solomon? What did Hiram say? The Bible said that when Hiram heard Solomon's message, he was greatly pleased, and he said, "Praise be to the Lord today, for he has given David a wise son to rule over this great nation." This was an idol worshiper. Immediately offered spontaneous praise to God because he recognized the wisdom in what Solomon did in reaching out to him, to partner with him, to leverage that connection, to come together to build this great temple for the name of the Lord. There is another thing that I want you to see in this. Very, very important. There's something that Bible said. If you remember, let's just go back to it. Bible said in verse 1, 1 Kings 5:1, when Hiram, king of Tyre, heard that Solomon had been anointed king to succeed his father David, he sent his envoys to Solomon because he had always been on friendly terms with David. What does that tell you? It tells you that this relationship that Solomon, or this connection that Solomon was leveraging to fulfill the vision and commission of God, was not actually built by him. Bible said that King Hiram had always been on friendly terms with David. Hiram loved David, Solomon's father. Because of David's good relationship with Hiram, the door was already open for Solomon. This was an inherited connection. This was an inherited partnership. This was an inherited relationship. It wasn't something that Solomon himself nurtured or built or developed. It was his father David who did it with King Hiram. The respect and honor built in the previous generation created a relational foundation that Solomon could leverage. So Solomon benefited from a relationship that was already established. He benefited from trust that was already established by his father David. What does that tell you? That the relationship we build today in integrity and respect can bless the next generation. It might be the relationship that you and I build today that our children will leverage in their own time to get to the next level of success in life, or to get to the next level of their breakthrough in life. So the question I have for you is, what kind of relationships are you building today? Because the relationship we build today in integrity and respect can be a huge blessing to the next generation. Good connections are often inherited and maintained not just created from the scratch. Solomon did not create this connection. Solomon did not create this relationship. Solomon did not create this partnership. He inherited it from his father David. There's another thing that I want you to see. When Solomon made this request, he was clear and explicit about what his intentions were. Even though he knew that King Hiram probably was an idol worshiper. In verse 3, Solomon said to Hiram, "You know that because of the wars waged against my father David from all sides, he could not build a temple for the name of the Lord his God until the Lord put his enemies under his feet. But now the Lord my God has given me rest on every side, and there is no adversary or disaster. I therefore intend to build a temple for the name of the Lord my God, as the Lord told my father David when he said, 'Your son, whom I will put on the throne in your place, will build a temple for my name.'" Did you see the clarity and purpose in the message he sent to King Hiram? Solomon did not approach Hiram vaguely or manipulatively. No. Didn't try to hide the mission because he knew the man didn't worship God. Didn't try to obscure the purpose, fearing the consequences of the actions of King Hiram. No, he clearly stated his purpose. "I intend to build a house for the name of the Lord my God." He honestly recognized his limitations when he said, "You know that there is no one amongst us who knows how to cut timber like the Sidonians." Some of us will hide and form and pretend to be all that. See, honesty is amazing. Effective connections thrive when we approach others with honesty, with clarity and purpose. I believe that people are more willing to partner with us when they truly understand what we are aiming to do and why. Could that be a reason why you're finding it difficult to partner with anyone? Because you haven't provided clarity. You haven't defined purpose. And you have not been brutally honest about what you're aiming to do and why you are aiming to do it. Could this be a reason why we are facing different challenges? Oh, I've tried to connect with this person. Oh, I try to connect with the other one. Oh, I try to do this. I try to do that. Hey, think about this again. Would you connect with someone if you have even a shadow of doubt about their true intention, about their honesty, and about their purpose? Would you really connect with such a person? Clarity is extremely important. And this is one thing I want you to see in this passage that we all read. How Solomon did not try to hide anything. He stated it, knowing truly that if this man decided that he wasn't going to be of help to him, that he was finished. The vision would be stalled. But he took his chances. He took his chances. There is something else that I want you to see here. Bible made us to understand that Hiram rejoiced when he heard Solomon's request, saying, "Blessed be the Lord today." In my mind, it was a win-win. Hiram provided what Solomon needed. And in return, Solomon provided food for Hiram's household. That was the agreement That was what Hiram wanted. He said, I'm going to give you all the timber that you requested, and I'm going to send my men to work with yours. But in exchange, you will provide food for my men. You will provide food for my men. And Solomon did. In other words, Solomon got the timber and the skilled workers he needed. And Hiram got the food and the supplies he needed for his men. Both kings benefited, and both of them gave praise to God. I want you to understand that connections that honor God are always mutually beneficial, and they bring joy, not exploitation. Any connection that brings you sadness and exploitation, exploits you, does not in any way honor God. You can take that as a red line. Connections that honor God, they are mutually beneficial, they bring joy and praise to God, and they do not exploit. There will be no trace of exploitation in those connections. When we bless others and are blessed in return, God is glorified. And there's one more thing that I want you to see in this. I want you to see this, please. This connection with King Hiram, in my heart, I believe it was part of God's larger plan. God works through human relationships and partnerships. He does. Even though Solomon was chosen and anointed, God's work was accomplished through a network of people, resources, agreements, and labor. One fact of life that I've always spoken about, and I will continue to speak and underscore, is that we are not called to walk alone. God often uses our networks, our partnerships, our connections to bring his plans to completion. We are not called to walk alone. I want you to take a moment and think about the people God has placed around you. Are you cultivating relationships that reflect trust, clarity, and mutual blessing? Are you open to letting God use partnerships to fulfill his work in your life? Or have you already closed every door? This passage teaches us that connections provide access to needed resources. Connections can build on the foundation of prior trust and prior relationship. This connection with King Hiram was not created, was not initiated by King Solomon. It was an inherited relationship from his father David. Connections require clarity and honesty to flourish. Connections should be mutually beneficial and bring shared joy. Connections are often the channels through which God accomplishes his purposes. Men and brethren, let me ask you an important question. Now that you know that God uses connections, partnerships, and relationships to fulfill his purposes in our lives, and that we are not meant to walk alone, we are called to work together, to build bridges that honor God and advance his kingdom. What would you do? Would you become more careful about, one, the connections that you're building today, knowing that those connections will definitely impact the next generation, one way or another? There is one thing that I know. You probably heard this same kind of story many times. How a young man was so nice and so kind to others, and he was so good, and when he finally finished his university education and got a job, he was extremely nice to others, helping people, training people, advancing people, doing everything for others. And then one day, he got married, had his own children, raised them, and eventually he died. And then one day, his own son was looking for employment. And he came to a very wonderful, thriving organization. And there were so many applicants for the same job. I mean, they had a pool of very fantastic applicants. I mean, there was no shortage of talent amongst the pool that they had. But then what made a difference was when that young man mentioned his name. And the guy asked him and said, "Are you related to so and so?" And he said yes, that man was his dad, that he passed a couple years ago. And the man gave him a hug, held him real tight, and said, "Everything that I am today, I owe to your father. Your father was the one who paved the way for me. Your father was the one who mentored me. Your father was the one who did everything that I needed to achieve this success that I have today. I am the owner of this company. And on the strength of your father's benevolence to me, that has helped me and shaped my life and given me everything that I have. Young man, this job is yours." No stories, no interview, no nothing. The end of story. You probably heard the same kind of story. I've heard this same story many times. It tells you one thing: connections, relationships can be inherited. If the father of this young man had been such an evil person, and then this young man mentioned his father's name, do you think he would have gotten that job? Do you think that guy would have looked upon him with kindness? Do you think so? Let us be mindful how we behave. Let us be mindful how we treat others. Let us be mindful the words that we use on others. One thing you may never know is how much or how quickly somebody can remember the things you did to them that hurt them. People are quicker to remember the things that hurt them than the things that really bless them. If you keep that in mind in your relationship and in your relationship building, I think you will do much better. You will become more self-aware, and you'll be more intentional about how you build your connections and your relationships. The reason why I chose this Bible verse today is a very short one, is to build upon our discussion how God can use your connection, your relationship, and your partnerships to answer your prayers. Solomon prayed. God gave him a blank check. Ask me whatever you need, and I will give it to you. Solomon asked just for wisdom. And God said, because you didn't ask for long life, you didn't ask for riches and wealth, you didn't ask for all these things, I will give them to you. I will give them all to you. But in spite of his wealth, his wisdom, and everything that God gave him, Solomon knew that he lacked resources. He had vision. He had a commission. But there was no resource. And he had no skilled people to even begin to work with. It was not easy. I am trying to call your attention to this because it is that important. that whenever we have the opportunity, that we should never ever cease to do good. The relationship that David built with this King Hiram when he was alive was what saved the day. And Solomon, in his humility, reached out to this king, acknowledging before him that he lacked resources, that he lacked skilled men, that he needed this partnership and collaboration to bring the vision to reality. The king was humbled by Solomon's request. Solomon could have said to the king, I am now the king of Israel. I'm maybe 100 times more richer than you. Therefore, I am commanding you, if you don't want trouble, to do this. And no, that was not the approach. It was an approach that the king could not refuse. Very humble approach. Very candid. And very, very clear in defining his purpose and defining what he needed to achieve. He did not hide anything. He was that clear. My question to you is, would you have used the same approach if you needed something so desperately and you knew in your heart that if this guy said no to you, your plans would just crash? Some of us, because of the pressure on our shoulders, we will embellish the purpose. We will embellish our story. We will embellish our requests with falsehoods so that we will get it. Because we know that if this person says no, that's the end of it for us. But I hope you learned something new today from this. That Solomon knew what was at stake. And yet, he came with clarity, he came with honesty, he came with humility. And he got even more than he needed. Because the Bible said the king gave him everything, even much more than he needed. If it were you or me, and you knew that you were going to build the house of the Lord, and you knew that the other king that you needed supplies from was a terrible idol worshiper, I'm sure we would have probably said we wanted to build a conference center. We would dare not say the temple of the Lord, because we know it goes against the grain of everything that king believes immediately. That's a disqualifying revelation or admission. Once you state that, it's over. But no, because he spoke the truth in humility, this king's heart was moved that even though he did not believe or worship God, the Bible recorded that he praised God. He praised God for the wisdom that he gave to Solomon and for choosing Solomon to be the ruler and the king of Israel at the time. Would that have been your own reaction or your own? I don't know. But there's this thing I want us to learn from this story today. How important it is that we stay true to our calling. We stay true to our calling. That we stay true to our purpose. That we stay true to our commission, regardless of the consequences. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But if it happens, of course, God is glorified. This story really touched my heart when I read it. Some of us, because we are so blessed, will not even dare to go to anyone we would consider less blessed than us to ask for anything. That wasn't King Solomon. He let wisdom lead. he let wisdom lead. One of the reasons why we fail in life is because we don't even know when we need others to come in to help us. And we keep pushing, we keep grinding. And some of us, unfortunately, grind ourselves to death. When someone else probably already figured it out. When someone else has already invented a way that is more powerful, much easier to help you accomplish your purpose. When someone else already have been there, done that. When someone else is already endowed with the wisdom, with everything you need to accomplish what you need to do. But we choose to keep grinding. One fact that will ever humble me in this life is the fact that when Jesus was on the way to Mount Calvary, even in that state, at that point where he knew he was actually doing the will of God and walking the most important purpose for which he came to earth, which is to go to that cross and die and redeem men, that he did not refuse help. When he fell under the weight of that cross, he fell a couple times. And then there was a man who was returning from travel wherever he went. And the soldiers just grabbed him and forced him to carry the cross for Jesus. Jesus did not say, no, by no means no. I must carry this cross myself. I must take it up to this mountain before you guys can crucify me. He can't help me. This is my mission. This is the reason why I was born. Jesus did not say that. Jesus accepted help. Men and brethren, even in the most important mission, God-given mission, understand that it was never intended by God that you do it alone. You need help. You need partnership. You need connections. You need relationships. You need collaboration to achieve God-given purposes. If you understand that, you will never say no to help again. There are some people I've seen in this country, I tell you, they are multi-billionaires. But when they want to undertake an important initiative, you see them organize fundraising. And you'll be like, what is wrong with these people? Why are they organizing fundraising? They can pay for this thing 10 times over on their own, with their own money. But no, they organize fundraising. They bring people together. They organize dinners and sell tickets and use that to raise funds. But they have enough to do it on their own. It's not just about the money. How about the strategy one of the guests might bring that will help make things go better? What about the connection another guest may bring that will lead to incredible supplies? It's not about just the money. What are other pertinent things, resources needed that these guests can come together and bring? I saw a couple months ago the former president of Nigeria, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. He wrote a book, a memoir, and he was launching it, trying to raise funds to build his own presidential library. Men and brethren, you all know Nigeria, and you all know this guy. He can build a library with his eyes closed. But no, that's not what he did. He wrote a book to use it as a platform to bring these people together so that they may raise funds for him. And you think he needs the money? He doesn't need the money. But he has used that to create an awareness. I am building this presidential library. Whatever you can avail, whatever you have that you can avail to make this a huge and impactful success, bring it to the table. It wasn't just about the money, people of God. We have to look beyond these things. There are so many things that money cannot buy, that others can bring to the table. Like I said, it does amaze me sometimes when I see these, fundraisers, and you see who is doing the fundraiser. Bill Gates, of all people. Bill Gates, he can pay for it 1 million times over. But no. This Bill Gates foundation that he has, do you know how many times that he has done fundraising for it? That foundation gave away $100 billion the last 20 years. And they have strategized how they will give out another, to double that, give away $200 billion in the next 20 years. Men and brethren, think about this. They understand the power and importance of connections, partnerships, and relationships. It's not about the face value of the money. There is so much more beyond the money that you cannot see, but are critically important to the success of the project. Solomon was a king. Hiram was another king. Solomon was greater than King Hiram, yet he sought his help. He sought his help. What do you need? How many people have you neglected in your quest to accomplish the mission or your mission? The ones you neglect might be the ones that carry the most weight in this life. Weight that is relevant to the success of your project or your mission. The ones you neglect might be the important ones. The ones you think they will not amount to anything. The ones you think they will not be able to lift a pinky finger to help you. They may not look it. They may not have it, but they may know someone. And that's all they need to do. Give you that connection to that person. And maybe that person knows another person. And that person knows another person. It's like a chain reaction until voila, you get to the owner of the factory that makes every single raw material you need. Started with just a piece of information from a peasant little girl. But because of the appearance of the person, you've done your own personal assessment of that person. Say, this girl will never amount to anything in life, at least not in my life. Big mistake. Very big error. There is something that our sister said, Leader Ernestina. She said something that was key. The help you need, or the answer that you need, might be the person sitting by your side in a meeting or in the church or even in a birthday party. And because you close your mouth, you don't say a word, that person will spend 2 hours exactly sitting next to you and go home. And you're still wallowing in pain because you did not receive answer to your prayer. But you had 2 whole hours with the person, but you didn't open your mouth. Have you ever heard that a closed mouth is a closed destiny? One thing I've learned in my life is anything that takes your voice has killed you already. Anything that steals your voice has killed you already. If you remember what the Bible says, that the power of life and death lies in the tongue, you will understand exactly where I'm coming from. Go look at everything that God created Start in the book of Genesis chapter 1. Imagine if God did not have a voice. We will have no heaven and we will have no earth. Because Bible never told me that God got raw materials and then started building heaven or building the earth. No, he did not. Everything Bible recorded was, and God said, and God said, and God said. Imagine if God did not have a voice. We will have no heaven and we have no earth. And everything that we know today to be the way they are, as beautiful and awesome and majestic as they are, will not be in existence because God had no voice. I hope that sinks in your mind as you think about this. So next time you sit at an important meeting or you sit close to someone you may not even know, dare to introduce yourself. Dare to introduce yourself. By the way, my name is Leader Nicholas. By the way, my name is Mr. Oboda. By the way, my name is this. How are you? Where are you from? Little conversations like that can open doors. Little conversations like that. And the person may be dying to have someone talk to them, and then you open your mouth. And she'll be like, or he will be like, wow, okay. Because they have 2 hours to blow with you anyway, and they're not going anywhere. There is what we call captive audience. They are there, they can't leave. So you leverage it. They can't leave. You talk to them. It's just like you sit with someone on a flight. Say you're flying from one country to another. You're going to sit with the same person for the next, God knows how many hours it's going to take. That's your captive audience. They're not going anywhere. Strike a conversation. Many have built wonderful relationships and connections just by opening their mouth and introducing themselves. There was a meeting I went to at work, and one of the things that one man said in that meeting was, if I tell you how many hands I've had to shake in this my life, you will not believe, you'll think I'm crazy. But for every 10 hands I shake, one becomes a friend. That thing sank in me. For every 10 hands I shake, one becomes a friend. So if he doesn't shake any hands, he will have no friends. And then if he shakes 9 hands and forgets to shake the 10th person, he will still have no friends. What did I learn from it? Don't take no for an answer. You may shake hands and they may not even want to talk to you. That's okay. Keep shaking. He's free anyway. You have nothing to lose. Keep shaking that hand. You never know. One day you will shake the hand of your destiny helper, and the connection will be made, and the rest will be history. So I've learned to shake hands. The challenge I have is that my palms sweat naturally a lot. So because I sweat too much on my palms, I do fist bumps. Somehow try to make that connection. Do it. The worst that could happen is they won't want to hang out with you. That's okay. You are not missing out. They are missing out on what a great person you are. So move on. Move on to the next person. After all, we have 7 billion people to go through. There's no way you get through 7 billion people without having millions and hundreds of millions of friends. If you see it from that angle, it will change your life. So I want you to see the power and importance of connections, partnerships, and relationships. Very powerful. There is so much I can say about this. so much. But I try to find the very simple things that we can, that are relatable, that you can connect with. So it's not just a Bible story. It will be things that happen in this day and age that you witness and you've experienced a couple times, many times even. I can never forget one day that we needed something so badly. We tried everything we could to get that thing in the state of Massachusetts. It was impossible. And we got news that, hey, the people in Pennsylvania were still open to giving this kind of help and assistance. And my friends and I, we drove all the way to Pennsylvania from Massachusetts. From Boston, we drove. It was about 7 hours driving one way. When we finally got to Pennsylvania, we went to that office. We got there, and of course they turned us back and said, well, you guys are crazy, we don't do this anymore. But then there was a woman, a lady, that was there. We didn't know who she was. She heard and she saw what we went through. So she met us outside and said, what are you guys looking for? And we say, hey, we're looking for this. And she said, you know what? I'll give you my business card. She wrote something at the back of the business card and said, go back and give it to that lady that turned your back. We went back. We didn't know who she was. We went back, gave the business card to that lady that didn't even want to see us. Immediately she took that business card, read it, story changed. Everything changed. All doors flew open. Everything we needed, we got it. One business card, one connection. I tell you, that connection was divine because we didn't do anything to create it. We didn't do anything to earn it. It was just a connection that God gave. Maybe God saw how we drove 7 hours, oh, we've been suffering and everything, and just said, I'll just be a blessing. I'll just bless you guys. And sent that lady. That lady had no business talking to us or doing anything with us. She actually stopped. She was actually going somewhere, but she stopped and talked to us. End of story. I know many people in this life that a business card has changed their lives. They were looking for something. They tried. Nothing, no door was open until they presented a business card and all doors flew open. Men and brethren, don't ever underestimate the power and importance of connections. Don't you ever, don't ever underestimate that. I once sat in a church and the sermon was going and going and going, and the pastor said, I'll never forget that day in my life. He said, the person sitting next to you might be the answer to the prayer you've been praying all these years. And for the first time since I sat in that church, I made a conscious effort to turn to my right to look at the person sitting exactly by my side, on my right hand side. And I looked, and the person was also trying to look, and we made eye contact. And we just smiled at each other. And guess what? After church service, he was standing outside waiting for me to come out. And when I came out, he said, you know what? We might as well connect. And that was the connection that helped me get one of the most beautiful jobs I've ever done in the United States of America. The person sitting next to me in church. The person sitting right next to me in church. I don't know how many opportunities you may have missed because you were so, I would say, not interested in having any conversation. Minding your business. Sometimes minding our business is an impediment. Sometimes minding our business is an impediment. Sometimes we need to just mind other people's business, just have a conversation. Get out of our comfort zone. I'm the kind of person that I will never open my mouth and talk to you unless there's a big reason to do that. And that has hurt me many, many times. And I've learned to begin to talk to people, even when I have nothing at all important to say, even if it's how are you doing today. There's this person that I work with. You know, if there's a human being I can pray for, if there's a person that I would pray in my life to be like, it would be that young man. He's the executive rep attached to my office from Dell Computers. This guy, any day you speak to him, the most pleasant human being on earth. No matter what you're going through, no matter what's happening around you, the first 3 sentences that comes out of his mouth, you're good. I don't know how he does it. I don't know that it's a talent. I don't know what it is. But this guy, I don't think he will ever lose any deal in this life. I don't think he will ever miss any opportunity in this life. And when he writes you emails, oh my God, this person, Dell has an asset in that employee. Dell has a very, very huge asset in that young man. Very young too. Very, very young boy. But the most pleasant person to speak to. Whether the weather is great, whether the weather is the worst weather in the world, whether the office is going up and down, whatever is happening, when this guy comes on the phone, I don't know how he knows. He will say one thing and you'll be like, wow. Even the way he will greet you, the way he will start, no matter how angry you are when that phone was ringing, and then you pick it up, that anger will dissolve in less than 5 minutes. I don't know if it's a gift, I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's working for him. I had to move things within my organizations to make sure that everything we buy from Dell because of that man. He never asked me to. He just because of how pleasant, because of how wonderful, because of this, and it's not just me. Everybody that works in my office that has ever spoken to me, spoken with him. Oh my God, this guy from Dell, what's his name again? Dan? What kind of a person is that? I don't know what it is. But this guy has the magic. I am sure if he ever turns to become a politician, he's going to win the presidency of the United States with his eyes closed. He has the power in his mouth. He just knows the right words. He just knows. I don't know how he does it, but he just does. And there are some people, when they call me in my office and I see the number, I get angry in advance because I know there's nothing that will come out of their mouth that is going to be any good to me. Because they are so arrogant. They are so horrible. There are people you don't want to miss their phone calls. And Dan from Dell is one of those. And there are people you wish they never called you. I will not mention name for that one. So which category are you? Are you one of those people that when people see your number flash on their phone and you're calling, they'll be like, wow, I have to take that call. Even if they're in a meeting, I have to take this call. They step out and take the call. And there are those that call, once they say the number, decline the call immediately. I hope it doesn't even go to voicemail because they don't want to hear from you. Men and brethren, which one are you? Look at how King Solomon communicated with King Hiram. And this man melted like candle wax. Which one are you? See, every solution you need is in the Bible. You just have to read it and pray that the Holy Spirit will give you understanding so you understand how to apply it to this, your daily life. The worst thing that happens to us is that we read the Bible and we say, well, that's the story from ancient times, blah, blah, blah. You don't try to understand it to see how it applies to your day today. I do. Everything I read, I see how I can connect it to what's happening today in my world. Like I said, we can go on and on. But that's not the intent of this message. The intent of this message is so that you can see the power and importance of connections, partnerships, and relationships, and that you can understand that you need these connections, partnerships, and relationships to achieve God's purposes in your life and for your life. And again, that you need to be careful how you build connections and relationships, because they may impact the next generation, which means your children, maybe your children's children, in a good or a bad way, depending on how you build it. Connections can be inherited. We saw that in the scripture, in this passage we read today. You can inherit connections. These are life lessons. There is no one that is hearing me today, that is listening to me today, that will say that there's no way this thing can ever apply to my life. It's a bloody lie, you know that. It does apply. It happened thousands and thousands of years ago, but it's relevant today. And might have that level of relevance that you need it to get to your next level of success and breakthrough in life. And I hope you take it to heart, because it's that important. And may God bless you as you do, in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.